And those decks are the least. There is no less fun thing to play against than those stupid engine pile decks, and they've made those into the meta. So lore archetypes pose a major problem for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the unstoppable
Dueling Wave. Before we get into this video, I quickly want to yet again shout out the Discord in the description down below. Our Discord is small but growing. We've tripled our members in the span of like a month and a half, which has been absolutely mind-blowing. With some of the success of the recent videos, I see a lot of you have come to the Discord. So please engage with us. Come to the Discord. We have our own custom Yu-Gi-Oh format where we've banned all of the stupid stuff in the game, where our priority is fun and interactivity, where you can actually play going first or going second and have a good time. Now, I know this seems like a pie-in-the-sky pipe dream compared to modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but I found it's the only option we have if we want to continue playing the game that we love, but not have to deal with Konami's ineptitude and refusal to address all of the problems in their game, such as nonsense tier 0 formats, every deck ending on the same dumb end board, negates out the ass, floodgates out the, all of the most stupid, belligerent stuff we've taken out. So come, if that sounds fun to you, come join us. We're waiting in the description down below. If you don't want to pay $180 for a Full Ross and to have fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh, well, come down, because we're going to ban that mofo immediately. Anyway, back to the video. Recently, I came across a video. I think it was done by Josh Smith. I haven't watched it in probably a week, but I think it was him that talked about this topic, basically discussing how lore, like some of the negative implications of lore archetypes. We're currently in the Dia Bellstar lore of the Black, the Black Witch and whatnot. Before that, we had Visa Starfrost lore. Before that, we had Fallen of Albaz lore. Before that, we had World Legacy lore. And then we had other ones before that, but really, those are the only ones worth talking about, because Zephyro came along like very late in the process and wasn't really a tier 0 or super insanely competitive deck. It was pretty good, but not like insanity. Where some of these decks that have come in later lores, especially in the most modern two, in Visas and Dia Bellstar, we've seen absolute craziness tier 0 formats. And what's unfortunate here is that lore archetypes usually last about 2 years on average. I believe that Visas lasted about 2 years that he was getting support. I believe Albaz lasted way longer than that, because Albaz was like a fan favorite. People loved Brandon and whatnot. And World Legacy wasn't as loved as much, but I still think it was like 2 to 3 years. So these lore archetypes, they do get support for a very, very long time. When you get this constant support, it's a double-edged sword. Where you have the positives, everyone looks at the positives like, cool, look at this, we have the pictures, look at the artworks, they're so cool, they have a continuation of the story, like look at Albaz and Ecclesia, they're in the desert and they're riding the thing, and that's so cool. And when it's a deck like Spriggans, or in Dia Bellstar's lore, Goblin Bikers, where it's really not that competitively viable, it's not an insane deck, hey, it's cool, make it, no problem, it works. The problem arises is, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, a deck has a shelf life, right? So you play a deck for, on average, it's like, let's say a deck being good, it all depends on how good it is, but if it is a hyper-competitive tier 0 deck, or tier 0.5, if you want to make the excuse for Snake Eyes, these decks don't really last past 6 months. More than 6 months would be absolutely insane, because people would just get turned off and stop playing the game. The problem arises when you had a ban list like we had just recently with this end of August ban list. This ban list supposedly hit Snake Eyes pretty hard. And if you were trying to be an impartial observer and you're looking at it from the outside, you're like, well, yeah, if you look at it, I mean, we lost 2 Ash, we lost 2 Poplar. The consistency is down significantly. I think they have only like 12 one-card starters, where they used to have like 18 or whatever. So the deck's been hit. Poplar is more of a brick. And the Fiendsmith has been significantly weaker. So you don't just get Link 2 plus a rank 6. Right now, you just get a rank 6, which is still really nice, but not insanely broken like it was. All of these hits combine to take Snake Eyes from being the best deck in the game by far to being the 3rd best, 4th best deck in the current format. The problem is, when you have lore archetypes existing, future support for any of these in-lore themes can accidentally in Konami's case, support a previous theme, like Snake Eyes. This theme then can get a power boost where those hits are deemed irrelevant and the deck just becomes as good as it was before, which is the case when Rage of the Abyss drops and we get Azamina cards, the next step in the Diabell Star lore. This fusion deck works very well with Sinful Spoils card. Wanted is a Sinful Spoils card. OSS is a Sinful Spoils card. So these themes just mesh together very well, for better or for worse, and whether it's an accident or not, we can't really know. Either Konami is, Lex Luthor level of ingenious evil, or they're like bumbling buffoon like Dr. Doofenshmirtz. I never watched that show, but I do remember the name, and I think he is supposed to be incompetent. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below if I'm not correct. Once Rage of the Abyss drops, it's the floodgates are wide open. It doesn't matter that you only have one Ash, one Poplar, this, that. You could probably still brick on the Poplar. But if you draw any of the Azamina engine automatically transitions you right into the Snake Eye engine. Because you can get to the OSS then summons the Snake Eye Ash from the deck, and you have full Snake Eyes combo anyway. And this is also spurred on by the fact that the Azamina cards are not locked in any way. So it's almost like there's a theme that continues to be present here. When a deck has a lot of powerful pluses, genericness, where there are no limitations to what you can summon. So for example, usually decks that fusion summon, aside from the last two cases in Tear Laments and now Azamina, most fusion decks have been locked to fusions, right? Even Melodious has some type of lock, even if it is accidental from the past. Right, you have some light locks, you have some Melodious locks and whatnot. Modern decks don't have any of that. It's old school Yu-Gi-Oh, but the worst kind. It's old school Yu-Gi-Oh with modern power creep. You can have one or the other and have a fun game. You cannot have both. This isn't ingenious where, oh my goodness, look how smart we are. We can combine all these, cram these archetypes together and make this crazy amalgamation pile deck. Yeah, you can. But what they're functionally making is those stupid engine decks back in the day that were just like 6 engines all in one. And when it would go off and you didn't have a hand trap, they would like basically FTK you, but that deck would never win tournaments. They're basically making that into the meta strategies nowadays. And those decks are the least. There is no less fun thing to play against than those stupid engine pile decks, and they've made those into their meta. And I think that's one of the key reasons people are complaining. These new archetypes that are released in lore, sadly, catapult these decks that need to be hit, that have lived past their life cycle. Hell, even in the lore, Diabell Star, I think, killed the Snake Eyes. And so they're dead, they're done. And yet, here they are coming back. They're the most resilient archetype I've ever seen. Azamina cards be like, Catapult Turtle, you right back to the front of the line, baby. You're the #1 deck yet again. And the wildest thing to me, now this is where it comes to that, is are they Lex Luthor, are they Dr. Doofenshmirtz? Why did they print the Azamina cards to be able to work with Snake Eyes? Like, could they have not made it work with something else in the lore? There's other decks in the lore. Like, could it not have worked with Whitewoods or Goblin Bikers or whatnot? Like, why work with the best Tier 0 deck? Snake Eyes would have been fine if it stayed at the current power level that it is. 7%. Representation in the format, probably a tier 1.5 to tier 2 deck. Completely fine with that. And when Yubel gets hit, it would probably be one of the more competitive decks in the game. It's not like it would be smashed to bits. So you spending that $1,000 originally on your investment, well, you still would have some benefits to that. You still have that deck and it still is playable. But now, instead of having that deck be addressed, the deck will have to be slaughtered on the next list thanks to the Azamina cards. They're going to use the deck to sell the Azamina, sell you Furos, sell you all this garbage, and then guaranteed they will smash the deck on the next list. And what will we say? Oh my God, I can't believe Konami did this. Can you really not believe it? This is their MO. This is what they do. It's a bad company that doesn't care about you and doesn't have your interests in mind. And I genuinely don't care if I'm never sponsored by them or never have this in the future. If I get there, genuinely, they're a bad company. And if someone is doing evil, you should not support them. And yes, what they're doing is, in fact, evil. I saw a video recently that's talking about the chances of you pulling a card you want. A good, like, so for example, like in the tins, the tins are $22. This person, I forget who it was, on YouTube, was watching a video. He said that the odds of you making back your money is I think there's 4 secret rares out of the 100 secret rares that would actually make back the money of your tip. Compared that to literal gambling, like on roulette, you have a 1 in 38 chance to like 36 times your money. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh, if you buy this tin, you have a 1 in 25 chance, almost as bad of odds as roulette, to just make your money back. I mean, that is the biggest scam, the biggest crock of crap I've ever heard in my entire life. How can we defend this? Can any of you defend this? Please, if you guys want to defend Konami, please defend them. Please defend them in the comments. But you're wrong. We can have discourse, but you're wrong. This is absolutely asinine. And they continue to print these lore archetypes, and they could do this just fine, but they don't. And the best part about this is, so when they hit Snake Eyes on the ban list, which deservedly so should have been hit, they introduced a problem into the deck, which was consistency, brick factor, power level, everything into the deck. Now, you want to fix that problem in Rage of the Abyss? You can. For probably a cool $300 to $400, you buy this brand new engine. Boom, your deck's fixed back to essentially where it was before the hits. Is there anything more scummy that you've heard in your entire life? This is snake oil salesman. What do we think though? What is your opinion on the Azamina cards, on Rage of the Abyss in general? Are you going to buy some? What do you think about the lore decks in Yu-Gi-Oh? Are they problematic, or is Konami making them problematic? A second and less egregious point would be Branded, right? The Albaz lore. Branded never really was the top cream of the crop deck in the game. But unfortunately, we took something that was actually pretty sweet, a deck that was consistent and good and played well and had its own boss monsters and its own unique, one of the most well-designed decks in Yu-Gi-Oh history, I would argue. And we took that and we just kept adding more lore support. That was actually good lore support. More and more every set. Here's another card. Here's another 2 cards. Here's another 3 cards. And before you know it, all of a sudden, like that was meant to introduce more lore, but also to make it competitive with the current stuff. And where did that get us? Branded Fusion to 1. A card that Branded Fusion is completely fine. In terms of the current power level of the game, the meta, Branded Fusion is completely fine. That is the wrong hit objectively by every metric ever, right? Guys, let me let you in on another secret, right? If a card like Puppet Lock is causing an FTK, if Jowgen is causing an FTK, we could, and hear me out, follow my logic. I'm hearing it from the universe. The universe is telling me that yes, we can indeed just ban the floodgates that no one uses. Or if you want to ban Albion, fine, do it. I don't care. Sanctifier, not the other one. Ban him. You clearly didn't test enough. You clearly didn't think through the card enough. You literally gave it targeting protection. You don't want to ban 2 to 3, 4 floodgate cards? Sure. I would argue that those cards have no reason to exist, especially the Gimmick Puppet. It's not even used in its deck. Get rid of that card. But if you want to ban Sanctifier, so be it. I'm not going to be against it. Pure Branded is just fine. But what this did, what this stupid consistent lore support, what it's done is functionally get a really cool deck hit, because there is no way this lore support is proofread in advance. They make the original set and they keep adding and they just keep like, well, what if we gave it a Fool's Burial? What if we gave it a Summon 2 from the graveyard? What if you just keep adding and eventually that dam will break and you're gonna have problems, which you do. To be fair, Branded is not as big of a problem, but its overall win condition, the current meta is awful. And I cannot believe they kept it and hit Branded Fusion. Craziness too. And don't get me wrong, I like the lore support. I just think it's done wrong. Like, would it have hurt for Sanctifier to say something along the lines of, to your opponent's field, you can only summon a card that mentions Albaz in its text? Would that have been a problem? Summoning Cartesia to their field or Mercurier? Would he even be ran? Probably not. But it doesn't matter. It's not about would he be ran or not. If you want to give us this lore card that would probably still be playable, just do it that way. Some limitations is fine, right? But the problem is modern day, here's the lore that spans 2 years. It's not play tested. It's literally just thrown out there, see what sticks, and it's all generic. I'm terribly sad at the state that the game is in. It's depressing. We had a great format as recently as just a year ago, where we had Unchained, post-ban tier, Rescue Ace, Labyrinth, Cash, Manadium. Okay, maybe not Manadium, because that was kind of like an FTK deck, and so was Infernoble. But we had a really nice format. It was very competitive, very fun to play. Got an invite during it. Got top 25. Felt great to play in. It was one of the most fun formats we've had in the last like half decade. And Konami craps on it, bans the hell out of those cards when, if you know what's coming down the pipe, if Snake Eyes was coming, why even hit those decks? A Rescue Ace with 3 Airlifter would not be able to compete with Snake Eyes. Unchained with 3 Sharvara would not be able to compete with pure Snake Eyes. Why do these hits even happen? That's the time they should have held off on a ban list. Not now, during this stupid Tier 0 format. And now, a year later, we're chilling, praying for things to change, but we dang well know that the abuse is not going to stop. We should more than likely just pack our bags and leave. But leave right for our Discord! See, it's not all doom and gloom. We don't just present problems here at Dueling Wave. We bring solutions. So if you want to have fun, go to the Discord. If you guys like this video, if you like this message, if you agree with me, consider subscribing to my channel. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. Here at Dueling Wave, it gets the feels. It gets the feels up big time. We feel good. While you're down there also, like the video and consider sharing it with others so that we can get this message out there and maybe, just maybe, put some pressure on Konami to fix this and not have all of this just be hot air, right? But guys, I hope you guys have a blessed day. I'll see ya. As always,